it's
great.
pretty
Okay.
chilly this morning.
Great. Thank you.
Welcome everyone. It is absolutely wonderful to have you all here with us today for this special National Science Week event. Today we're going to learn all about how everybody, absolutely everybody, can help NASA monitor Earth from your local library or from your school or from your home or basically anywhere, I believe. I am Dr. Bridie Schultz. I'm one of the directors of the Australian charity Teach STEM. I am also on the management committee for the Australian Citizen Science Association. So, for a bit of background on today's session, the Australian Citizen Science Association have partnered with the Australian Library and Information Association on this absolutely fantastic initiative to build citizen science corners in public libraries across Australia. So these spaces are built in libraries and they connect communities with real scientific, like actual scientific research to create that accessible platform for all community members to build those practical science skills, but also for everyone to share in the excitement of research and scientific discovery, which is one of the most amazing things about being a human. The citizen science corners are also a great way to build genuine connections between scientists and communities to turn everyone's curiosity into it's turning curiosity into actual positive impact on the real world, which is an absolute passion of everyone, I believe, who's in the room today. So today's session is a perfect example of that. Now, we've set up today's National Science Week event specifically for the libraries who are part of the Citizen Science Corner project. But of course, we have made today's session accessible to absolutely everyone because that is the beauty of the support and the engagement that libraries offer to their communities. So today we are going to learn about how everyday observations like cloud cover, measuring landscapes, or keeping an eye out for those pesky mosquitoes, how all of our everyday observations can help real life research institutions just like NASA. So it's a chance to see how your contributions fit into that much bigger picture while also learning a few fun tips and tricks from the experts. Now, speaking of experts, we are joined today by some fantastic speakers who will guide us through today's activities and answer your questions along the way. So the team that we have today from the NASA Globe program are literally some of the nicest and most passionate and dedicated scientists that I've ever had the pleasure of working with, and they have kindly donated their time today to run this event for us here in Australia. So, logging in all the way from the United States of America, we have Dr. Rebecca Boger, or Becky as she likes to be called, who is the Director of Science Training, Education and Public Engagement at the GIO. She is also a professor and chair of the Department of Earth and Environmental Scientists at Brooklyn College at the City University of New York. We also have the amazing Dr. Rusty Lowe, who is the Deputy Director for Science at the GIO. She is the science lead for the NASA GLOBES program, Globe Observer Mosquito Habitat Mapper. So for those of you in the room who have set up the mapping mosquito habitats in your citizen science corner, Rusty is the brains and beauty behind that initiative. And we also have Cassie Sofing, who is from the Globe Mission to Mosquito Campaign Lead. She is an Earth Science Education Technology Specialist and has served as an Einstein Fellow at NASA, which I'm pretty sure is the coolest title I've ever heard. For a bit of housekeeping for today's session, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat. We will also have time at the end for an amazing discussion, but I'm going to stop now and hand over to the United States.
Thank you. Cassie, are you going to set up the slides for us? Yeah, great. All right. Thank you so much. These are the slides that we put together. Next one, please. Welcome everyone to our presentation where Cassie, Becky, and I will all be talking to you about stuff. Cassie, this is your slide. Go ahead.
We put together just a couple of things that you can use for handouts, or you can post them around your library space. But we think of your work as citizen scientists as being a mosquito detective. And it's real simple, and we'll go through all of these steps throughout the presentation. We also have the same theme for one on land cover, because you are looking for using your phone as a smart device to capture all this valuable information. And so we're eager to see what you have from Australia.
Okay. Right now, somewhere in the world, a mosquito is biting a human, and citizen scientists are here to help. So when you think about mosquitoes, do you think of things that look like this, or do you think of things that are flying? Right. So this is when we do when we work with the mosquito habitat mapper, we're actually looking for the mosquitoes that are in the water. These are the immature mosquitoes, and what we're trying to do is identify those places where those immature mosquitoes are, and so we can eliminate that site, the breeding site where they are growing from eggs, becoming larvae, and then becoming the next step, which is pupa. And the pupa are the ones that look like little commas that are flying around there. But we want to find those places and get rid of them, because if you get rid of them, they don't emerge and become adults, and then there are no bites, and then there is no mosquito-borne disease. So that's the whole reason why we're having this talk today. Okay, we're going to show a quick video, and then we're going to have Becky say something. Okay, thank you, Cassie. I wanted to show that video because that's how we got started. And Becky Boger was with me. We were in Brazil and in Peru, and we were working with local communities. This was when the Zika outbreak was about 6 years ago. Since that time, we're now using this app for a wide variety of purposes. But Becky, would you like to talk about why mosquito research is important? There she is.
I have to unmute myself. So
Yes.
if you see me jump right now, we are just the thunder is so loud. It feels like it's
Wow.
shaking the house overhead and it's just pouring down. So if you see me go
Mhm.
like that, it's because we just got another bolt. Sure. This is uh, incredibly important. Mosquito-borne diseases, they are the number one or close to the number one killer or cause of deaths or illness to people around the world. They, with a vast majority of these people, or a large percentage of these people, causing fatalities in Africa, in tropical and subtropical areas. Mosquito-borne diseases that we are commonly transmitted to people are malaria, dengue fever, and Zika. And Rusty has talked about Zika several years ago. There was outbreaks around the world, and this kind of spurred on making citizen scientists becoming involved in identifying where those mosquito habitats are, help people in the community to become part of the solution in mitigating those sites where possible. And then to help with these scientists and NASA scientists and connecting it to satellite data to develop models for predictions of when there might be a next occurrence or of malaria or other mosquito infectious borne disease outbreak. And like I'm thinking of this rainfall here, they like water. At times there's going to be these puddles and places that mosquitoes can lay their eggs. I start, thinking of that with water. Rusty's in Boulder right now. It's dry, so she might not have quite that problem that we might be having here in New York in terms of where we have a lot of water. So making those connections between the environment, what's happening to our environment, and how this is impacting the mosquito-borne diseases based on the life cycle of the mosquito. So we need, in order for these models and for this research, and scientists are always saying this, we need more data. We need more data. We need big data more spatially, temporally. So in around the world, over time, we need data to help better monitor what's going on and predict where there might be outbreaks, and then to take safety measures so that people don't get impacted or sick, and those who may unfortunately have fatalities. So you are very much, your observations, your work is very important to what we are doing, or researchers are doing. So
Fantastic. Thank you, Becky. Next one, please. And so Becky already said all this, but why citizen science? And it's like what we need to do is the one thing that we can do if it's just one scientist, how much data can one scientist collect, right? But if we can get an army of people, we can get that volume of data coming in really fast that we can use to develop the models that we need to make predictive models so we know when and where we can expect to have mosquito disease outbreaks. And so, and this is why we're really involved in this project. So, citizen science, what is citizen science? I said I promised Bridie that I would talk about that. But citizen science is simply a really, really powerful. You can go to the next one. It's really a powerful way that we can get more people engaged in collecting data and also harness the knowledge of not just a few scientists, but the whole global community of people. Everybody knows something, and we want to capture that knowledge that everybody has and apply it to solve, to solve our environmental and societal problems. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the Globe Observer tool. Cassie? You have to unmute.
You would have thought I had that fixed by now, right?
You would have thought, yeah.
You would have thought. The Observer app can be downloaded right from the observer.globe.gov website. And with this app, we collect they're composed of 4 different tools: clouds, mosquitoes, land cover, and trees. And one email address signs you up as a citizen scientist. That's the only information that is stored. And the rest of your logins you'll stay logged in for as long as you are using the app. But as a user, you are anonymous. You can even choose your own observer first and last name, like Wind Vixen or some, Mosquito Marvel. You can choose your own citizen scientist name.
Right. So,
It's
but this is something really important, right, Cassie, that we know, especially if you know, because we want to have kids involved in this because kids are the ones that are outside all the time. They're the ones that are seeing, they're the ones that are really interacting with the landscape far more than a lot of adults that are going from house to the car to their work and back again. And one of the reasons we've been so successful is because we really recognize the importance of youth as data collectors and as citizen scientists. Okay, so we're going to give you information on how to download the app and get started later. Let's go on to the next slide, please. All right, so this is what NASA says. Do science in the palm of your hand. Download the Globe Observer app, and you can find that in your Google Play Store or your Apple Store. Just look up Globe Observer and you'll find the app, and of course, it's free. And like we said, your data is anonymous, so there is no danger in downloading this. Okay, next one. Okay. Citizen scientists make the connection between satellite data and mosquitoes. And so you saw that there are, in fact, 4 different tools on this app that you can use. And I want to say that we're going to train you today in the mosquito habitat mapper, but all of them work the same way. So if you know how to work with one of them, you can go and participate in a different citizen science program. But the important thing is, you can make the connection between where you are on the land, the mosquitoes you find, and the satellite data that's collected in space. If you use both these tools every time you collect a mosquito habitat mapper observation, also collect a land cover observation, because that helps us contextualize where you are in space and help us connect it to the satellite data. All right, let's go on.
Do you want to mention how quickly you can take both of these observations, Rusty?
Well, I think you should say that, Cassie.
We know that your time is valuable and collecting observations sounds like it will take a while, but you can collect a mosquito and a land cover observation in probably under 15 minutes.
Right. It's not as onerous as it might sound. Yeah,
Correct.
good. And we're going to show you exactly what those are in a minute. So the first one is the land cover tool. This is a mobile-based app where we basically are asking people to open it up. And we'll show you in a minute what it looks like, but we collect the date, the time, and the latitude and longitude where you're located. And then we ask the citizen scientists to simply tilt their phone, as I'm going to demonstrate here, right? And we're going to ask people to tilt it at an angle where we are able to see about the length of a football field. Soccer field, football field, and then which is about 50 meters, and then take photos north, south, east, west, up, and down. You can do it almost that fast, and you're basically done. But that data then will help us understand our mosquito data. Next one. Okay. So this is just a nice image. We also have a place where you can look at your data that you have collected, and we have an open database, so you can share this with people that come to your library or to students that are in your classroom, or you can show it to your teacher. The data that you collect goes into an open database that everybody can access and everybody can download. And we can talk a little bit more about how that works later. So next one, please. All right. Becky, would you like to lead this true and false quiz? So we're using something called the Zikazine here. And this is a wonderful document that was created by a colleague of mine who's now written a couple of books. She's actually really amazing, but she's the one who drew these pictures and told a really compelling stories about mosquitoes and about mosquito citizen science. So let's start with the first question. Becky, I'm going to let you run this. And all we need is to unmute you. Okay. So this is what we're going to
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
let's skip the next slide and go to the next one. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Becky.
Okay. Yes. So question here, true or false? Mosquitoes are found in water as well as in air.
So if you are in a room with other people, if you think mosquitoes are found in water as well as air, raise your hand if you think that's true. Okay. Anybody think mosquitoes are only found in the air? Okay, what's the answer, Becky?
Well, I think
Next slide.
yeah, it does. They are found in both air and water, and it depends on the part of the life cycle that an individual mosquito is in, whether it's eggs, larvae, pupa, or an adult mosquito. So
Right.
most of its life is spent in the water. Yeah.
That's right. Good. And this is just this really cute story. Like, hi, I'm Hester and I'm a mosquito. I'm Wanda and I'm a mosquito. I'm also a mosquito and we all look very different. And then, and then Mauricio here is saying, hey, Hester, I found your baby book. Next one. And the baby book is really important when you're doing mosquito observations because we're going to be talking in a minute about how we can identify eggs, how we are looking for larvae and pupa, dumping out water so we don't get the adults. All right, next one. Becky has another question for you.
Okay, let's see what this question. True or false again? All mosquitoes eat flowers and nectar.
Okay, raise your hand. Or
If
you can also put you can also put it in the chat if you want. But how many people think that all mosquitoes eat flowers and nectar? Okay. Okay, I can't, because some of us are together and some of us are separate. I can't really evaluate that with the tools we have, but you know what you know. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. And, this is so sweet. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and it is true.
It is true. Yeah, and Mauricio.
So it's not just the blood.
It's not just the blood. And Mauricio, he's courting Hester here. And he says, look at the flowers full of nectar. I'm going to invite you to dinner. And tasty. And, and it's important here to realize that our mosquitoes are really important because they don't just bite people and cause a problem, but they're also important pollinators. So he says, you've got pollen in your leg. Go ahead and bring it to another flower. This is another one of your ecosystem services that you provide, right? Next one. Let's see what else you know about mosquitoes.
Good question. Yeah. Again, true or false? All mosquito adults bite to obtain a blood meal, not the nectar, but the blood meal. What do you say? Raise your hand if you think this is true.
Okay. Let's go to the next one.
Well, let's see what's the answer. False. Only the female mosquitoes will bite humans, and they need the blood as part of their reproductive cycle for the eggs.
That's right.
I'll let you, Rusty, explain this. So
Wanda, Wanda goes and she has all this dinner, and Mauricio, who's dating her, is completely satisfied, but she's like, I'm not hungry anymore. I'm craving something else. And this is why only females bite, because they actually need extra protein to make their eggs. And so this is something that many people do not know, that only female mosquitoes bite. Next one.
That's a tough question.
Okay.
Another question, true or false? Wearing light colored clothing makes you less attractive to biting mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are attracted to humans by their smell. So what are those two questions? Are they both to be true or both to be false? Could one be true, one be false? What do you think?
What do you think? Do you think wearing light colored clothing makes you less attractive to biting mosquitoes? If you think that's true, raise your hand. Okay. mosquitoes are attracted to humans by their smell. If you think that's true, raise your hand. Are they seeing us and finding us? Are they smelling us and finding us? They're pretty sophisticated organisms. And as we can see on the next slide,
So, you're so good at explaining these cartoons, Rusty. I'm going to lead you to go.
Thanks, Hester. I like being an adult, but I'm not sure how to choose someone to bite. Well, I can give you some pointers. So the thing is about these mosquitoes, they actually cannot see humans, or they can't see humans if as well if we're in light clothing. Their optical sensors can much more readily identify dark clothing. And so that is one way you can protect yourself is by wearing light clothing. The second thing is they are highly attuned with their chemoreceptors to the sense of smell. And so if you are an athlete and you're running, you might find that when you stop to take a drink, you get mosquitoes coming around you. And that's because they are attracted to the CO2 that you are puffing out after all that exercise. If you also, when you're exercising, your muscles are making lactic acid, and that lactic acid goes through your pores, and it can even make your socks smelly. So if you've got smelly old socks, or if you've been moving a lot, you are more attractive to mosquitoes. So there you go. Next one.
True or false? Bed nets and insecticides are effective in protecting you from mosquito bites and mosquito-borne diseases.
I think I wrote a lot of these as truths. This is kind of not a good quiz. I'll have to redo this. So let's go to the next one. And another good reason to wash our socks. So here, this is a really important point because, a lot of the mosquitoes that are the problem in Africa are what we call Anopheles mosquitoes. They're malaria mosquitoes. And these are mosquitoes that tend to bite during the night. And that is why we have been so very successful in reducing cases of malaria in Africa because we have distributed bed nets and mosquitoes are biting people when they're sleeping primarily. So that's a really great thing. But what if you are somewhere and you've got Culex mosquitoes or Aedes mosquitoes, tiger mosquitoes? How can you protect yourself? Well, just use an insect repellent. And if you can use an insect repellent, it also works very, very well to keep the mosquitoes away from you. And part of it's because it's a horrible smell. Part of it's because it covers the smells that they like. So these are ways that you can protect yourself. Okay. All right, here's a good one.
Here's another question. True or false again? NASA can see mosquitoes from space. What do you think? Can they see NASA with all those satellites and all that data being collected? Can they see mosquitoes from space?
Okay, raise your hand if you think it's true. All right, Becky, what's the answer?
What's the answer? Let's go see. So, Maurice.
So Wanda's wondering, what are you wearing, Maurice? Haven't you heard, Hester? NASA is interested in mosquitoes like us. I want to be the first mosquito in the astronaut program.
So
they can't.
So mosquitoes are pretty small, aren't they? And so even though technology is really advancing, that is pretty small in order to see any individual or a swarm, even if you want, of mosquitoes. Mm-hmm. So we're not quite there yet.
Not quite there yet. But our remote sensing systems that we have around the world are able to identify those warm and wet places that mosquitoes like to live. And that is how NASA data is used to help build these disease risk models so that you know when you are going to have a potential problem where you live, is because they are looking at the data of where they expect to see mosquitoes. But since they can't see mosquitoes, how do we really know mosquitoes are there? And that's where we enter the citizen scientist. This is the data that completes the story. And this is why you are all so incredibly important to the problem of reducing vector-borne disease. Let's go to the next one. Okay, Cassie, where are the places that mosquitoes lay their eggs?
Well, Rusty, there's literally every place a mosquito can lay an egg, but they do have some preferred habitats. Some of them are artificial. It could be a plant pot, it could be a bird bath, a dog dish, toys that you leave out overnight in the yard. Those are the artificial habitats. And those are the ones that we can actually make a difference by dumping water from. If it's a natural habitat like a swamp or um, a tree hole, or looking at the pictures here, if it's a ditch, those are things that are just environmentally too large, I think, for us to really manage well, unless you're in an area where they're actively spraying. But we can dump, and we've made a game called the Habitat Mosquito Habitats and Hideouts. It's a bingo game, and we've provided 40 different bingo sheets that you can use with your group, and answers and little buttons you can use to put on the cards. But think about around your house, what can you match up from on the card? Literally, any place can be a habitat. One of the other, and other areas you can look around your house that aren't listed on this particular one, but it could be under your kitchen sink. If you have a drippy pipe, condensation water from anywhere, from a running toilet, for example, in the back,
Mhm.
anywhere that water can pool up and pretty much be undisturbed for a period of time, is their female mosquitoes are very opportunistic. They're
Mhm.
looking for the darker places. They're looking for a warm place. So your house is probably perfect. And that water to lay their eggs. We'll
Right,
talk
so
more about that in a
condensation
minute.
off of, yeah, so condensations off of air conditioners, for instance, or underneath refrigerators. These are kind of those, we call them cryptic habitats where we find mosquitoes. And what's the smallest mosquito habitat that we have identified so far, Cassie?
A discarded top from a soda bottle
Yeah,
is just enough to pool with the morning dew, and that's literally all a female mosquito needs to lay their eggs. So
excellent.
one more reason to pick up garbage and dispose of it with a container top.
Great. Thank you so much. That's great. And then here, here's her, Mauricio and Hester and Wanda, and say, hey, look, people like us, they create these great places for I live, like all these containers full of water, because this is where mosquitoes like to lay their eggs. And just to point out that we do, historically, we think that these mosquitoes that now, where they lay their eggs in our old tires and in our bird baths, that these mosquitoes actually evolutionary came from mosquitoes that used to find their homes in tree holes. And we still have tree hole mosquitoes. We have some that are that carry serious diseases here in the U.S., like Eastern equine encephalitis, St. Louis encephalitis. I don't know if you have those in Australia, but it's really interesting how these guys have become anthrophilic. They love people. They love being where people hang out because we make these good homes. And that is one way we can really, as citizen scientists, get rid of this problem by removing these places from where we live, so that they can't actually lay their eggs and they can hatch. More about that later. And Jesse, thank you for this great story about metamorphosis. I hope people will read that. Go ahead, next one. Okay, so here are some of our mosquito volunteers. These two young women that are in green and yellow. We were Becky and I were working with those young ladies in Barbuda when we were first starting out. We were trying to develop what this app might look like. We didn't even have an app yet, but these young women helped us. These citizen scientists helped us develop the app that NASA is using right now. And then here's some other individuals we have worked with where they are actually finding mosquitoes in a drainage, on a sidewalk. Or this one on the bottom left is one that really surprised me. If you have a bamboo grove and you cut bamboo and it rains, those become perfect mosquito habitats. And I have never seen so many mosquitoes flying around in my life than when I went into a bamboo grove, because every one of those cut bamboo places was a beautiful mosquito habitat and a place where the eggs were laid and they are growing mosquitoes. All right, next one. Okay. So you think about what is the most important thing you can do in your community to protect yourself from mosquito-borne disease. And I hope you know the answer right now. We'll go to the next slide and Mauricio will tell us. Basically, get rid of those containers. Make sure every time I visit my sister, she has a bird bath in front of her yard. Every time I visit her in the summertime, what's in that bird bath? Mosquito larvae. And she's going, this mosquito, it's such a bad problem. I see I'm frozen there. It's such a bad problem. All you got to do is get rid of that bird bath, Susie, but it's still there. But yeah, so that's what these kids are doing. They are eliminating those habitats. And in the app, you get a chance to say, I have eliminated a habitat. Okay, next one. Okay, here is a video now that tells you how to use the app. And I wanted to share this with you because this was created by a librarian that we work with in the LA Public Library, so Los Angeles, California. It's very short, but see what you think.
Welcome to Neighborhood Science, presented by the Los Angeles Public Library. In this activity, we will be learning about controlling pesky mosquitoes and mapping their habitats. While some mosquitoes have a long history in California, 2 particularly troublesome species have been introduced and spread rapidly since 2010. These are the Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus, or more commonly known as the yellow fever mosquito and the Asian tiger mosquito. These mosquitoes can be recognized by their black and white stripes. Unlike other California species, these mosquitoes feed during the day and often bite humans repeatedly during a single feeding. They are an invasive species, introduced to California through human activity. An invasive species is a non-native animal or plant that can cause harm to the environment, to humans, or to other animals and plants. Both of these non-native species have the potential to transmit human viruses, including West Nile virus, dengue, and Zika. Considered an invasive nuisance species, it is in our best interest to eliminate these mosquitoes from our cities. This can only be done by understanding and eliminating the habitats in which these mosquitoes live and breed. Our first course of action is to use NASA's Globe Observer app by selecting the Mosquito Habitat Mapper tool. This allows us to record water habitats in which mosquitoes lay their eggs, as well as observing any visible mosquito larvae present in the water. We will then be prompted to prevent any possible breeding by eliminating the stagnant water and any container which might catch water. By eliminating any possibility for standing water, we remove the ability of mosquito populations to grow. We can also prevent the growth of invasive mosquito populations by creating DIY mosquito traps. By using a recycled bottle, fine mesh netting, a rubber band, and a small amount of fish food to attract the mosquitoes into the trap. Begin by having an adult cut a recycled bottle in half horizontally after removing the cap and label wrapping. Place a few pinches of fish food into the bottom half of the bottle. This is what attracts the mosquitoes to lay their eggs. Wrap the spout of the top half of the bottle with mesh and secure it with rubber bands. Place the top half of the bottle inside of the bottom half with the spout facing inward, and tape the 2 halves together. You can wrap the trap with a dark cloth or paper to make it more appealing to mosquitoes. Make sure you can remove it to make your observations. Pour warm water into the trap, about halfway between the nozzle and the bottom, and place your trap outside in a dark area. There are tutorial videos provided for both constructing your trap and collecting larvae samples using the Neighborhood Science Kit. If you find this project interesting, you may also be interested in the career path of an entomologist, a bug scientist, or the path of a vector control technician. By participating in this effort, we become part of the solution in protecting our environments from invasive species and making the outdoors more comfortable for ourselves and others.
I thought that was just a really nice video, and it's it was LA Public Library. It could be, citizen science corner libraries, right? So I really wanted to share that with you. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of these points later. But the important point here is that you in Australia have the same invasive species that we do that are causing problems like dengue. And that is the tiger mosquito and the Asian tiger mosquito and the yellow fever mosquito. And we call those Aedes albopictus and Aedes aegypti. So those invasive have moved from their homeland in Southeast Asia and in Africa and have gone all over the world because they are very adapted to human environments. Okay, next one. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the steps. And I'm going to, Dr. Bridie is going to be sharing this book with you so that you can actually see this for yourself. But this is a way that you can learn about all the steps that you take. So basically, we're asking people to go out, find a mosquito habitat, grab your trusty handy, we call these turkey basters, but it's a macro pipette. Suck the water out of your sisters or my sisters, suck the water out of the birth bath, put it on a plate, and then take a photo of that mosquito. And that's some of the data that we're hoping that people will collect and share with us using the app. Next one. Yeah. So there are other things that we ask you to do too. You can always skip any step you want in the app. If you just want to just say, I found standing water, you can stop there and go to the end of the app. Or if you have another 15 minutes or 10 minutes and you can actually sample it, take a picture of the mosquito, we really, really want that information as well. Next one.
And it's cool to do, seeing
And
those
it's
pictures.
and it is cool to do. So I promise to show you what the app looks like on the inside. What you'll see is once you open it up, it will say, this is the date, this is the time, this is the latitude, this is the longitude. And that's actually where I live, right there on the corner of Old Stage Road. So, and then there's a place there that says, how accurate is this observation? You can press that reset button until you get between 3 and maybe 12 meters. That's sufficient resolution, geospatial resolution. And then that data will let scientists know where you found those mosquitoes. Then you've seen these pictures before on the bingo game, right? Did you find an old tire? Did you collect the data from the mosquito trap you've built? So you can put whatever, wherever you found the mosquito, we want to know about that. And then after that, we're hoping that you will also give us quickly some land cover pictures. Next one. All right. So photographing your specimen is pretty easy. You can use any kind of digital microscope. This is one that's very easy to get in the US. We get it from an online store. They are about $7 US. I don't know how that translates into Australian dollars, but it clips right onto your phone, and it turns your phone into a microscope. So it's really cool, and then you can use that to collect your data. All right. What's really important, though, for scientists, because we're using your photos to create AI, to create artificial intelligence algorithms that can help us to identify these mosquitoes, because we don't have enough entomologists around the world to say, oh my gosh, this community has this dangerous mosquito, we better get rid of it. And so we're creating AI. So if you can take pictures, please do. Using the app, you can take up to 9 pictures. We hope you take 3 of the body, kind of take a toothpick, move it around a little bit, take the head, take the tail, take the body, move it around. You can take up to 9 pictures. Most people only take 1, and 1 is better than none. But if it's really much easier to identify mosquito if we see it in a few different versions. Next one.
Do you want to mention, Rusty, that even if they don't find any larvae in their water sample, the habitat around it is just as important to us?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Cassie.
0 is a number also.
That's right. 0. Yeah, that's right. If you don't find mosquitoes, it says how many larvae do you see? Do you see 10? Do you see 25? 0. Having no larva also lets us know that right now this place is safe. So don't feel like you're a failure if you don't find a mosquito, right? We want to find those zeros too. Okay, yeah, that was really important, Cassie. Thank you. All right, let's go to the next one. And so what we're asking you to do is to become a mosquito habitat mapper detective. And we have a couple products. Next one, please. We have a couple products that were developed by Cassie and especially our friend Liz, who is a teacher who has worked for many years with kids. And this is kind of like a little detective test that you can do. And there's a URL code, but we're going to send you the information to how to find these things. But this is kind of a training on how to use the app that is really fun for my university students when I train them in this, but also for kids. Okay, next one. And so in order to move forward, we need to understand, and you already know a little bit about mosquito biology, that we're looking for eggs, larvae, pupa, and adults. Next one. Now, why are we talking about this? And we can go, we've already talked about this, where they find their lives in water, so we can move on. But the reason why we're talking about eggs here is because we want to know, we want to talk about how we can build a mosquito trap so that you can collect data, even if you don't find mosquitoes on your way to and from school or work. You can also set up a research laboratory outside your house and collect mosquito data every week and report it. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to collect data about these larvae. And you see they have a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. And you have to decide whether or not you have a mosquito larva. Next one. Okay. But also, and I put this in here because we're going to talk about eggs. And it's really interesting. The different mosquitoes deal with eggs differently. So for instance, we're going to look, these are the mosquito eggs that you can collect using the trap that we talked about. And this is because these mosquitoes are highly adapted to wet and dry conditions. So they have evolved so that they lay their eggs just at the edge of water, but not in the water. And then what happens is when it rains, the water comes up, the eggs disassociate from the where they were laid, and they go into the water and they immediately reproduce. And you can see why that's advantageous because that way a mosquito is going to have hopefully the 3 to 5 days it needs to become adults because they just go in right after a rain. That's pretty genius, right? So that's what we're dealing with here. Next bunch of eggs. Okay, and so we're showing you here, these are the eggs that you see for Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus. These are the mosquitoes we're really concerned about in Australia. Next one. But I had to say that not all eggs are like that. So Culex is another mosquito that is very, very common also in Australia. And they have different eggs. You want to show them how these eggs are laid, Cassie? Because it's kind of fascinating. You might as well talk about this, Cassie.
So the instead of being scattered throughout the water or laid, as Rusty mentioned, on the side of a container or a puddle, these are laid in a raft, and up to 200 can be laid at a time. And this, of course, is sped up, but as you can see, they all stick together. The female mosquito will lay probably 3 to 5 times in her lifetime, 2 to 300 eggs at a time. So the chances of them maturing and becoming, this particular one would be a West Nile. It's the Culex, but they stick like a raft and float on the water. So things to look for when you're looking for eggs, for example, in your bird bath or your dog dish or toys you've left out.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, so eggs look different in different ways. And I just think that's just a fascinating video, right? Let's go to the next one where we've got a few more minutes. Let's go to the next one. And I just showed you I held it up, but this is what it looks like. If you take one of these little clip-on microscopes, you just clip it on top of the lens that you have on your phone. And then that allows you to be able to use your phone as a microscope and get all those fine, tiny details that we need to identify what kind of mosquito it is. And there's only one hint to this, and that is when you align that, when you align this this clip-on lens on there. All you have to do is in the viewfinder, make sure you have a perfect circle. And if you have a perfect circle, that means that it's laid out exactly the way it needs to be. And then you're able to take your photos and they will all be in focus. Next one. Okay, so if we had more time, I would actually go through this, but this is part of that, the larvae hunters 1 and 2. You have to look at these and say, which one of these are mosquitoes? And only 2 of them are, and the rest aren't. And so you can go through here and we give the different clues. And then at the end, you identify that, Cassie, which ones are the mosquitoes?
Oh, this one,
Mm-hmm.
this one, and this one.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, great. Let's go to the next one. But we have, in your app, we just want to show you that you don't have to come with any prior knowledge because the app will say, you take a picture and then the picture will show up in the app and then you compare your picture with what's in the app and it'll say, do you have a mosquito larva? And if it looks like the pictures you have in A, where you've got, a smaller head, a bigger thorax, and lots of hairs, and you have, some gills at the end, which are those white things, and perhaps a siphon, those are going to be mosquitoes. You can see that B is not a mosquito, and why it's got a really strange little mouth. It has appendages. There's no legs or arms on this, not legs or arms. There's no legs on this thing, and it doesn't have a way to breathe on the end of its tail. And so you can tell using this, and you can actually, if you swipe, not only do you have these things, you also diagrams, you also have actual photographs you can compare with, like the one you see here. Next one. Okay, so, and then once you get there, then you can actually take some steps to determine whether or not this might be one of those dangerous dengue carrying mosquitoes by determining what the long breathing tube looks like. And that's what this thing is called, a siphon. And if you have a long, thin siphon, you are in the category of mosquitoes that include the Culex, which is the common house mosquito. If you have a short, blunt siphon like B, that is a hint that you have something that is in the category of mosquitoes that also includes the dengue mosquito. So that's really important. If there's no siphon at all, you know for sure that you have a mosquito in the malaria family, which is Anopheles. But more about that later. Next one. Okay, you want to talk a little bit about just, we don't have a lot of time, Cassie, but just about how everybody can look at their data?
You bet. In the globe.gov, if you go to data, then you can actually search for the layer that you're interested in, and mosquito larvae puts us in the hydrosphere. And then if you looked for, right, so that'd be right here, and you can click on mosquito then, and you can choose to look at photographs, or if there were specifically any mosquito larvae found, and making sure they're checked. It shows you all over the world, so you can find your site when you start making observations. They'll show up here, and when you click on any location, you can see individual photographs submitted by other people. And not only that, but if you're thinking, maybe I want to do a student project to find out how many habitats of a particular kind, you can do that with student work here also.
Okay, so this is now the exciting part of this project where I'm going to show you how to build a mosquito trap. And I'm have a little bit of a difference than what I showed you before. This QR code will take you to this activity. And I want to say, if you just want to collect mosquitoes, the easiest way to do this is to put a black bucket outside. And in that black bucket, put grass and water and let it sit for like a week. And mosquitoes are going to have the food they need. They like the dark bucket. They like a larger amount of water. This is the way to do it. But if you, lots of places around the world, you're not allowed to leave a bucket out because it's a health hazard, right? And so so that's the reason why we've developed these safe mosquito traps. So I'm going to show you now how to do this. You want to stop the share so they can see me? Great. All right. Can you show me? Or no, I guess we can't do that. No, because you're the one doing this. Okay.
Yeah,
I
we
can
can see you.
Okay, great. So you have the bottle, okay? And you already saw how to do that. So you just basically you cut into the bottle, and I should have done this beforehand. I really should have done this beforehand. There we go. Okay, now I can do it. Okay, so you can use any size bottle you want. Here in the US, we have drink bottles that are 1 or 2 meters, 1 or 2 liters, right? And so this is what the bottle looks like. I'm going to turn off my background so you can also see better. Hold on just a second, because, okay. Okay, great. So this is kind of what we have. So, I know some of you have brought this with you, so you can do this or do it at home. You basically just take the bottle and you cut it into 2 pieces, and you saw that. And I'm going to take the plastic off that tells me that this is drinking water. We don't need to know that. And then they already showed you how to put this together, but they say to use some nylon netting is a great way to create the safety part of this. And the thing is, you can use, commercial nylon netting, but what I'm using here is the onion bag that I bought my onions in last week. And I don't know if you get onions or potatoes in bags like this where you are, but this or a scrubby that you might use in the kitchen, these make really nice, um, uh, sort of blocks that keep the adult mosquitoes that might hatch from flying out. And the whole reason to have this to make this trap is if you set up the mosquito trap, and if it's just a bucket and you put it out there and you go away for a week, you're going to have lots of mosquitoes and you're going to be hatching them. You're going to be creating a health hazard. If you have one of these, and this is great for kids too, especially if you have one of these and you go and you forget about it, what's going to happen is the mosquitoes that hatch can't get out. And so this is what we call a safe mosquito trap. So we have this, this is the part of the bottle that you get that the water comes out of. So I just put this net over it, and then I put a rubber band on it like you saw in the quick video. So you can see here what you get is a nice netting where the eggs that are laid on the trap will fall in there, but the mosquitoes that hatch and become adults can't come out. So then you put water in here, and here are some improvements on what they did in LA. These things are very light and they can blow over. So put some rocks in there. So I put a rock in there, and they said use some fish food. You can use fish food. Lots of places tell you to use fish food, but we've done a lot of experiments, haven't we, Cassie? And
Yes.
the grass is really what works the best. So put some grass in there, let it sit there and begin to break down. It will create microorganisms that are delicious for mosquitoes. So there's the rock and the grass in there. And then we put the top of it here like this. But before we put that in there, we want to prepare the surface for the mosquito eggs. And so you just take an emery board, like for your nails. And what I do is I just go in and I just rough up the inside there. And that gives it a place for those eggs to stick to, right? So rub it out real good and just scratch it up. And then that makes a nice place for the mosquito eggs to be laid. And then you'll fill this with water. And I would fill it up to the level here of where the netting is. Because what that means is there's going to be no, when the water comes in, the eggs are going to go into the netting and they're going to fall into the water. And so then you put it together like this. And then they said, mosquitoes like it dark. So if you have some paper like I have here, you can just wrap, this is a brown paper bag, but I just wrap the trap with the paper. And as you can see, it's really nice and dark inside. So the mother mosquito thinks that their babies are protected. And then I just take a piece of tape and I put a tape around that so it's nice and dark. And then you have a really expert mosquito trap. And so we love, one thing that we love, and this is a great science experiment or that you might want to do for a science fair or as a something that students can do if they're learning about insects or biology. You can have people, you can set these up, by your house and put it in a shady place because they'll cook in the sun. But put them in a shady place like under a tree or by a bush where it's kind of dark and the mosquitoes will love it there. And then they'll lay their eggs there and then just check it every week to see whether or not you have larvae. And if you don't have larvae, you can leave it for another week. You can top off the water. And then eventually, you will be able to talk about how many weeks you had mosquitoes at that site. And that is that kind of data that's really, really important for us to understand for modeling. Okay. So that was the most exciting part of that was the arts and crafts part, but I hope you'll try that at home. And let's go to the last couple slides, Cassie, because we're about ready to quit now. And I'm sorry, I went 5 minutes over. Okay, so I just want to show, we do have some wonderful materials that you can use where you can actually record your research data as well as putting it in the app. And so that's really useful for you if you want to do a school project. Next one. Here's the last little bit. Becky, why don't you give them a takeaway message? And all you have to do is unmute.
I know. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
You'd think after so many times I would know how to do it, but I always still get lost. And so,
yeah.
So, takeaway message, the Globe Observer called GO. It's NASA funded and enables anyone with a smartphone, as Rusty showed, with a built-in camera to participate in this. It's designed for field use and does not require cellular or wireless service for data collection. So anyone can do it as long as you have a smartphone with this device, built-in camera. The data are saved on the device and they can be uploaded when you are connected to the internet so that it become part of this large Globe database that scientists and other students and other people around the world can use, and that for analysis, education, and use this for vector control purposes. So we can make this a safer world for us all.
Right. And one thing also that Becky mentioned about this is another pro tip. We've had a couple pro tips that we shared with you. One is, press that reset button to make sure that you get as close, as good a fix in terms of geolocation with the GPS as you can. The second tip is that the app works offline, so you can take it absolutely anywhere and collect data. But please, and I've done this a million times, and I hate myself every time I do it, but do not try to send the data when you're in the field. Because if you do, what happens is it tries to send it, and it keeps trying to send it. And if I stop it, I'll lose the data, right? So just, you can always just say, save and upload later, and then you can do another observation. But when you go home, you can then, when you're at home and you're in a place where you do have wireless, you can upload all the data at that one time. And we suggest doing it in a batch of, maybe 2 or maybe 3 observations at once. That will make sure that you don't lose any data. Yeah, thank you, Becky.
And do try to, in the photographing the mosquito larvae, that's lots of fun. And you'll become a photographer expert for these life forms. So try it. It is great. But the first time or two, you might not get it. It's a little bit keeping a steady hand and getting it focused in. But once you get the knack of it, it's loads of fun.
And I was going to say, and Becky and I, when we first started working on development of this app, both of us didn't know how to photograph mosquitoes. I really didn't even know what mosquitoes look like. I was a climate change scientist, right? And I would, so I was like, is this a mosquito, Becky? And she says, yeah, that is. Rusty, that's a mosquito. Because she had worked with mosquitoes and Globe for 10 years before we actually developed the app. So, so you're really talking here to the experts. And
Yeah.
Becky is certainly one of them.
But Rusty is the master. So
I've spent more time than Becky has since then, but she's my mentor. So anyway, anything you want to know, I gave Cassie and my email because we are actually funded on the Mosquito Project. And we are paid to answer your questions, to interact with you, to make sure that citizen scientists know exactly what they do. We have these, you can find all these resources on the website. And I really do appreciate so much you taking the time today to listen to Cassie and Becky and myself talking about something that we're really passionate about. And I really hope that you will see the importance of your data for what we want to do, which is to make a healthier planet and and all those other good things. So thank you so much for your efforts, and I really hope to hear from all of you.
Thank you so much, Rusty, Becky, and Cassie, for giving us your time today. I always think it's such an amazing thing that we are literally on the other side of the world from each other, but we can learn, like you said, Rusty and Becky, directly from the experts yourselves. I don't know about everybody else who joined in, but I learned so much today that I didn't realize that I didn't know. We do have a couple of questions in the chat, but what I'm going to do in the interest of time is we're just going to compile all of those and I'll send it through in an email to everyone who signed up. We will also be making the recording available on the AXA and ALIA website so that you can watch it later. And when we upload those videos, we'll put a little question and answer section there as well. And as Rusty said, we will also make all of the links provided today available to everyone. I just want to thank you again so much, ladies from the NASA Globe program, for donating your time to the Southern Hemisphere to talking to us here in Australia. I would ask everyone to give a round of applause, but we know what that's like online these days. So thank you so much again for your time, everyone. I know I'm going to hang back just in case people have some questions that they wanted to ask after the recording is finished. I love seeing all the clapping hands. Thank you so much. But thank you again, everybody, for your day. Enjoy the rest of National Science Week. Continue to be curious. And as Rusty, Becky, and Cassie said, it is so easy for everyone to contribute to helping, like literally the other side of the world. We can do it from Australia. We can help the rest of the globe. So enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Bridie. I appreciate the invitation. We all had a good time.
thank you so much.